stool or at the edge of the table, which I think, Doctor, you showed you last week. Yep. You could also, you do a high and tight drape or have your client dressed, and you can bring their leg off the table. And I can really press in with whatever tool I want, and I can still do my range of motion using the quads that way. And that works really well if you need to get the upper quad. My preference, if I like to get more pressure and depth and have more range of motion, is I have a roll over. Oh, as a demo, there's going to be a lot of rolling.
Okay.
Can you roll for us?
Yeah, can you put my stuff up there? Oh. All right. Roll which way?
Face down. This is going to be I can reach under the thigh, create some sort of solid tool, whether that's Russian knuckles, whether it's a whole fist, an extended knuckle if I want to really focus my pressure. If I know that common trigger point location in the teardrops, I can palpate that, and I can use a supported fingertip or even a locked knuckle. And then I can go through the full range of motion on the quad. Slowly taking up the slack after each stroke. Create length, take up slack, create length, take up slack. Length is happening as I do the opposite of the muscle action, basically go into a stretch. Then this part right here, my tool's moving to take up the slack. Separate the tools a little slower. Create length, take up the slack. Okay. General review, we'll use the gastroc just because it's available. If I wanted to work, say, soleus inside or gastroc right here, step one is always compress the muscle, take out any slack, mobilize the muscle. Once it comes back, I take up a little more slack, mobilize the muscle. Take up a little more slack, mobilize the muscle. Step two, doing the same thing while cross fibering. I technically need to do cross fiber while I'm lengthening the muscle. Once I reset, that's fine. I don't have to continuously friction the whole time. Right now the muscle's loose and the friction's not going to do much. Take up my slack, begin friction while I create motion. Step three, I maintain compression while I have her go through the motion. And step four, I friction while she goes through the motion. Okay, same basic steps on any muscle. Compress while passive, friction while passive, compress while active client, friction while active client. If you have a muscle that has more than one action, so far quads, extend the knee, gastroc, etc., extend, but if you have a muscle that has more than one action, you need to engage as many actions as you can. Chrissy, we have your back over. For example, if you drew tibialis anterior, tibialis anterior is on the lateral side here. I could start up here where it's nice and meaty, but this is near the origin, and origin by definition moves the least. So kinesio means move. So it's going to be less effective at the origin. It's most effective if you start near the insertion. Now this muscle's kind of like this, but then you got a long tendon. So I'm going to start near where the muscular tendinous junction is. So I'm near the insertion. Press in there. I'm going to extend and evert. Come up, take up slack, plantar flex and evert. Come up, take up slack, plantar flex and evert. This muscle does two actions. It does dorsiflexion and inversion. So when I'm doing the creating length, I want to engage in plantar flexion, eversion. Engage the opposite of the two actions. Yes? Mm-hmm. So start near insertions, work towards origins, engage as many opposing actions as you can. Okay, we take up slack when we do the muscle's action. We compress or friction while we extend or lengthen the muscle, going into its stretch. So if you remember, we taught the stretch of each one. That's usually the place where you're going to, is we're creating length. As well as working attachment points like the insertion or the origin. What else? Attachments and what other part of the muscle would I want to focus on? As I'm moving across here, what am I moving across?
The mid-fiber belly.
I'm working across the belly. As I'm working across the belly, where might I want to stop and be like, ooh, I should focus on that? Trigger points? What else am I to stop on?
Any novice?
Adhesions. And we're
Any
missing one.
stickiness?
That's the very definition of adhesion. Trigger points, adhesions, and it doesn't refer pain, it just hurts where you're at.
Tender points?
Tender points.
Tender points.
Trigger points, tender points, adhesions, inside the belly, as well as attachment points. Those are all good places to focus your therapy. Okay, so any specific muscles that are like, hey, this is a weird one, I don't know what to do with this.
Pelvis.
Pelvis. That's not a muscle.
The pelvic muscles.
Which
Mainly
pelvic muscles?
the rotators.
The tibia rotators? Like the piriformis and friends?
Yeah.
Geez, that's gonna sound nice, easy one. That's good. Yeah. Yeah. So, so this may be, let's say this or bicep, this may be the very first kinesiotherapy you ever saw. Las Vegas
Mm-hmm. Okay.
is kinesiotherapy.
Okay.
This is the very first kinesiotherapy I ever learned. I'm starting near the insertion, pinning the muscle down to take out the slack, create length. Take up any slack, create length. Take up any slack. So Las Vegas is kinesiotherapy for help piriformis and friends. If I'm going to do the same thing for quadratus femoris, then I first have to find quadratus femoris, and then same action, but it's a different location.
Cool.
And then I would cross fiber during the motion. Yeah? Okay. Just lobbing that one over to me. Looks impressive when I get the easy ones. Cool. Huh? Good? You just know what the action is?